This is TWiT.
All right, the new Spider-Man movie. It's out in theaters today, and our guest, Sam Machkovech from Ars Technica, wrote up his review about it. You can find it right now. Welcome, Sam.
That's all my Spider-Man moves right there, if you're wondering. And
Wait a minute.
my fancy 70s disco moves.
Are you Spider-Man?
No, it's just celebrating 777. It's like everyone's celebrating the year of 77. It's just been all disco on the radio in Seattle where I live.
Oh, okay.
But that works for me in terms of Spider-Man because there is a lot of motion and movement and joy to be had in Spider-Man Homecoming, which is out in theaters today. Clearly, Marvel Studios and Columbia Pictures were excited about how this turned out because they had a screening last week well in advance so that critics could have plenty of time to work up all of the praise they could imagine. Spider-Man Homecoming is great. I don't even know where to begin, but I'd say Tom Holland as the lead is incredible because you may ask yourself, do I need another Spider-Man?
You may ask yourself. Do I need another Spider-Man?
Well, how many Spider-Men have we had in the past decade?
Well, it's true. How many have we had?
He's the third. Let's give him a little credit. We had Tobey Maguire, then we had Andrew Garfield, who I thought was underrated. I know a lot of people didn't really like him, but I liked him as Spider-Man. And now Tom Holland, who after seeing him in Civil War, I was like, oh, he's going to be good in his own movie, and I'm glad to hear that that's the case.
But I will say, 100% lives up to the hype. Spider-Man Homecoming definitely did come off of that very solid appearance in Civil War. Really, really good brief moment where you kind of set up why there was a new kid, how young and pokey he was, Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, that sense that there was already something going on there. And now they have the opportunity to flesh it out. And I think of it as Peter Parker's day off. This is Marvel Studios' first teen movie, in my opinion. They're really finding a way to break away from the typical Marvel action film and go, okay, let's make a teen movie with a really good teen cast. One of the stars, I'm blanking on his name. His last name is Daly from Freaks and Geeks, is one of the writers on this movie, and it shows because geekdom and excited kids who can act their way out of a paper bag are totally on display here. Peter's sidekick is just fall on the ground, awesome in terms of just really stealing scenes everywhere he goes. The action's really good. Michael Keaton is incredible as a bad guy. And there's not really even damsels in distress. They really do a good job with Tom Holland of mining him as an excited, confident, but ultimately incapable superhero. He's young. He still has things to learn. And the mistakes he makes in this movie have stakes. He messes up and has to learn from it. It's really interesting, really compelling, and funny and entertaining the entire way through. I really feel like a cheesy movie poster. You know, the ones with the cheesy, like 3 words about must go see when I talk about this movie, but I really do feel that way.
Sam Machkovech from Ars Technica says, must see on the poster. I don't know, Ron, I know you had plans to see this this afternoon, right before this show. Yeah. I'm sorry you had to choose the show over the movie.
Yeah, well, no, it's not your fault. No, I was actually, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend any of the advanced screenings in New York for critics. So I'm like, all right, I'll just go Friday. I like to see it with a normal crowd usually as well too, to get to register. And I went to see it at the Alamo in Brooklyn this afternoon, but unfortunately somebody triggered the fire alarm in the building, and that killed the projector. And then I'm doing the math, and I'm like, I got to make it back to see Jason and do TNT. So I'm gonna go see it tomorrow morning. But Sam, what Sam's saying is echoing a lot of the stuff I've heard from friends of mine who have seen the movie, both that work in the comic book industry as well as in kind of critics and things like that. I'm hearing a lot of comparisons that this is really Marvel meets John Hughes. Which, as a big fan of John Hughes films, that makes me very happy. And actually, I was texting with a friend of mine who works at Marvel in the comics section, in the comics division, and he said, in his opinion, this is the best Spider-Man movie of all, possibly one of the best Marvel movies of all.
Wow.
Now, that said, I always try to temper these opinions because comic book movies and comic book movie fans, and Sam, I don't know if you've run into this as well too, they tend to love the newest, latest, shiny thing. Like every movie that comes out, oh, this is the best one, and all this sort of stuff. So I like to see, you go back and watch a movie a year later and see how well it holds up. But I think all indications show that this Spider-Man movie is really going to be something special, because I think Tom Holland is just great as Spider-Man, and just like from the trailer alone, it's just like, oh, this looks like it's going to be fun.
I mean, I can already tell you this is nothing to do with comic book fanboyism. For example, as much as I love Paul Rudd, Ant-Man did very little for me. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was just serviceable and fine. Not a bad movie per se, but this to me really goes somewhere different enough for the Marvel tentpoles to establish a new trajectory for at least a few movies, to have Robert Downey Jr. show up and anchor in a really good way. I do feel like the Downey era is gonna fade out before long. There's only so much Robert Downey Jr. that you can get in these movies before they go broke paying him. So I thought that there was a really good kind of handoff there. No, I'm not going to go into any further detail as to what exactly that might be. But it just is exactly what it needs to be to feel fresh, because we've had so many Marvel superhero movies that sort of blur the line. You're not a geek if you go see a Marvel movie anymore. They're just everywhere. So how do you really step it up and make a movie for everyone that really gets at a human connection level and has great characters that you really invest in and also see shades of gray in? And I think Michael Keaton, Tom Holland, the entire cast knock that out of the park. It's a character movie, and that's why I love it.
Great. I guess I'm going to have to figure out a way to see that then. Because with 2 kids, yes, I have to figure it out, apparently. I would take them, but I don't know.
Hey, don't you have an alter ego that you leave them behind with at 5 p.m.? So, sorry, kids, I got to put on this costume.
See you later.
Yeah, I will say, Jason, I know your kids are probably a little young for it, but I was in the theater on an afternoon. It's in July, and half the theater was kids, so that was really promising and really good to see.
Yeah, but that's how it was at Deadpool. So there's some backgrounds. I will say it is pretty kid friendly. There's like jokes that use slightly suggestive language and some punching and violence. But of all of the blockbusters that apparently want to take a kid to, I would say this before many others.
Got it. Yeah. All right.
Well, and what I love is that Spider-Man's a teenager. He's a kid, and that's something new, and that's from the movies kind of standpoint. So I'm glad to see where it goes from here.